All right, so we have here against the Ivan Nemet.
He was an international grandmaster playing for Switzerland, of course, but he was coming from Yugoslavia. He was a Yugoslav player.
Mm-hmm.
So knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6, and finally we have again our Zemish, f3 against the King's Indian, f3 castle, bishop e3, and he played knight c6. This is one of the most interesting lines with knight c6, and now white has to play the best moves to get the advantage in the opening. The move order is very important. Knight g2, a6, and now queen d2. Another plan is immediately to play knight c1 or a3. The a3 is an idea from Botvinnik, playing immediately b4 on the queen side. A small edge for white, in all kinds of positions. But it's completely different. Okay, now knight c1 allows black to play this plan, and we have everything on the queen side and in the center, for the moment, later on. But instead of knight c1, white could play in many other games before that we showed already. The white plan is to play immediately castle on the queen side, and then finally h4 and bishop h6 is completely different line. We tried it against Anderson and many others, and it's very good for white also. But this is okay, this is different. Now d5, knight d4. Of course, white doesn't take in d4, it's very bad. If you take in d4, you are lost already with white,
Why?
Because you give the bishop, which is the best piece, and the black has a very, very strong initiative for the pawn. Immediately you can't recapture the pawn. With the knight in c1. The knight in c1. If you take in d4, it's a very big mistake, because you take, he takes, and if you take back with the queen, it is, typical mistake. After knight e4, you can resign. Knight takes e4.
Yes.
Completely winning for black, So of course,
yes.
You can never play something like this.
Yeah.
So, okay, after knight d4, knight b3. So after knight b3, he has to take a decision. If he played c5, he has a small initiative, but he has to give a pawn. And of course, he didn't like it. Okay, knight b3, he took in b3, I took, and now c5. He tries to fix the position on the queen side, And now we try to open again. We played b4. Now he has to take, like Vasyukov in some other important game many years ago in Hastings in 65. Or he can play also b6, but always better for white. In any case, it's always a little bit better for white. So now everything is very interesting. Okay, knight a4, knight d7, and okay, queen takes b4. We recapture the pawn, f5. And starting from here is move by move, move by move. White is always better because black has some weaknesses. The pawn from d6 for the moment is a little bit weak. We have a better game on the queen side, and later on we put our king in c1. We castle queen side later on. Yes. So okay, now after knight b6 he took, I took with the bishop, and now we propose an endgame, queen d2. If he takes in d2, we have such an endgame, very strong endgame for white, probably almost winning, because we have many chances on the queen side. Starting from here, for instance, if he takes in d2, after king takes d2, we have a very good idea to play later on something with c5, b4 and c5. Clear initiative for white and clearly better, much better, of course. Okay, he doesn't agree, he doesn't trade queens. And now we can place our bishop very well on d3. We prepare, castle long side or
queen side?
King side.
King side.
Both cases very good. So now he tries to do something quickly, the only counterplay he can try. G5, he was hoping that white takes in f5. But then it's not okay. That is very dangerous because he can open completely the position instead of h3. h3 is a very good move. But instead of h3, if you take in f5, he has time to play e4. And the position is very, very unclear. It's not clear who is better, Because now you have to take in e4, and after bishop takes f5, suddenly black has a very strong counterplay, So okay, h3, starting to, to provoke a little bit our opponent. Of course, if he takes in e4, we take back with the bishop, and is excellent for white. So now he tries again the best tactical move, g4. So now we take once with the pawn, he takes, of course, and now, okay, now we castle. And finally, if he takes in h3, it's very unpleasant for black because he opened the position for white. We can put immediately the other rook in g1, and they have very strong initiative, probably winning initiative for white. See? No counterplay at all. So he continues to wait now. Queen g6, king b1, good move. Now he played rook f8, comes back on the f file, to have something with white, some play. It's not so easy. White is clearly better, but it's not so easy winning, you see. So h4, this is a very good idea. We continue this idea by trying to play later on h4, h5, and have some tactical threats, you see. So now we played h5. If he took in d2, he was lost already because he loses at least a pawn with very strong initiative. He has to retreat the bishop, and we have time to take back the pawn in h7, and it's completely winning for white. So queen g7, okay, queen g7, he waits. Now queen b4, very good again, rook f6. And okay, now this is the first very important moment, tactical moment of the game. Now, if white in this position played simply c5, the position probably was winning in a few moves. Strategically, white opens completely the position, and there's nothing to do against the simple idea d6 and bishop c4 check. Terrible for black, But instead, white played the normal move, bishop d8. It seems it's very good, but in reality, black has some counterplay now after bishop d8, because he found a very strong move, bishop e3. And now if you take the quality, black has counterplay because has a very strong black bishop. Putting the bishop in d4 and then c5 is almost impossible to break the defense, So now we have to try to win again, a winning position, you see. But we complicated, in meantime, by playing bishop d8 instead of c5. c5 was much simpler, After c5, in a few moves, white, succeeds to open completely the position. It's probably a winning position already. So now you have to play very well again. So he took queen d7, and now bishop f6, very strong again. Bishop f6. Now the tactical threats are very unpleasant for black. Now this is probably the best move to try to close the position again with g3. The idea is to put the bishop in f4 or in f2, to take the activity from the white rook from f1. So, okay, after g3...
the idea with this bishop, what is it?
Well,
to take
we
here
try to have some mate threats, the queen e1 back and the queen g3 or queen h4. And we start with the queen on the other side. And also we have another possibility to play later on h6, like in our game. We'll see. So, okay, after h6, now what to do? He has to close the position, because if he took in a h6 with the bishop, after c5, he is again lost completely, because we succeed to open finally the position in our favor. The black king is very weak in g8. The rook doesn't play in a8. So we have time to organize a very strong attack, for white. Yeah. The pawn doesn't count, we give the pawn for a very strong initiative. So, okay, after bishop f2, queen d2, again, we change again the plan, We try to give mate with queen g5 check. So queen g4, the only good move. Bishop e7, finally. Now, again, he can't play bishop c5 because he was mate in 1 in f8, After bishop c5, very big mistake. Yeah? Bishop e7, now bishop c5, very big mistake. Rook f8, mate. So again, the only move now to resist a little is queen g6. Okay, so now finally we could do it, So now black is probably lost again, but much more complicated than before, But now we have very, very strong attacking chances. Queen c3, we take back our pawn. We sacrifice the pawn for initiative, but now we take back the pawn and we continue the attack. So queen takes, bishop d7, and now finally d6 check. He has to play bishop e6. Everything is forced. Queen c7, and now he played queen c8 instead of queen c8.
Rook c8.
Rook c8. Yeah.
Yes.
Hold on. Rook c8. Instead of rook c8, a very nice alternative for white, very beautiful one, was queen f7, waiting. But after queen f7, again, he's lost completely in a very beautiful manner.
Queen f7 here?
Queen f7, yeah. After queen f7, of course, black is completely lost in any position. But the easiest way to do it is d7, very spectacular. D7 now.
Yes.
Now he has to take in e7.
Yes.
And now d8, queen check. He has to take with the queen, of course. And now queen g7 mate.
Yes.
It was very beautiful. But he didn't play like this. He played rook c8. Okay. Yeah. Queen c8. And now still d7. Of course, he can resign because now he can't take in c7 because his queen d8 check and recapture the rook. And we have rook up,
He resigned here.
He resigned. Well, very beautiful game. But we complicated a little bit the game by playing not immediately c5 when we had the idea, to play immediately after c5. But maybe the game wouldn't be so spectacular, like in our last position, because last position is very beautiful also.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You are.